to have an ability to be part of culture when we have been purposefully separated from culture right now is like a big thing.
Welcome to New Thinking from the Center for Justice Innovation. I'm Matt Watkins. Books can be transformational, transporting, maybe nowhere more so than behind bars. But the walls we erect around people who are incarcerated also disappear them from conversations about culture, politics, history, conversations to which they can make vital contributions. A new National Literary Prize is trying to reconnect those conversations and celebrate the power of reading and readers on the inside. The Inside Literary Prize is judged exclusively by people who are incarcerated. It's the first such large-scale effort in the U.S. It's a project of Freedom Reads, an organization which confronts what prison does to the spirit, opening libraries behind bars. Also, the National Book Foundation, those are the folks behind the National Book Awards, the Center for Justice Innovation, and Dallas bookstore owner Lori Feathers. This is the prize's inaugural year, with more than 200 judges in 12 prisons across 6 states. In the background, you're hearing judges gathering in the library at one of those prisons, the Women's Correctional Facility in Shakopee, Minnesota. In today's episode, you're going to get a behind-the-scenes portrait of what that day of judging and discussion sounded like. 4 books were nominated for this year's prize by a committee of incarcerated readers, writers, and departments of corrections librarians. The committee was selecting from the list of finalists and winners of the 2022 National Book Awards. And I'm going to tell you a bit about each of those 4 nominated books as they come up in this episode. But right now, all 22 judges are assembled in the prison library, ready to make the case for their picks. So let's get to our day of judging and our day of voices from the inside in Shakopee, Minnesota.
My name is Stephen Parkhurst. I think I was on the Zoom with most of you, all of you. Freedom Reads tries our best to never go into a prison. Since I've been on the team, 16 months now, we have never went inside a prison and introduced anything unless it's through somebody that's been formerly incarcerated. So the thing that I share with you is that I served time, and I've been in your shoes. And I served 7 days short of 30 years.
16 months ago, Stephen Parkhurst was on a life plus 45 plus 9-year sentence. No hope of release. Then he got parole. Today he's back in prison, but with a visitor's pass and a mission.
But to be here, the stuff that y'all are doing today, man, it should be from the rooftops and the mountaintops. People should know about that. So if
whoever wins this prize, he says, that's a big-time honor. But the prestige, it's in this room.
It's actually the first time effort anywhere in this country. Right? Like, let that sit there for a second. First time anywhere in this country that books are being judged by folks on the inside who know a thing or two about books. I let people know all the time, which your librarian is not shy about saying. People in prison, particularly women in prison, are the most well-read people in this country, period. There's a couple PhD folks on the Freedom Reads team that I say, y'all ain't got shit on what you read versus what people on the inside have read. You've read some different books, but don't start talking numbers because you'll get embarrassed. All right?
It's early morning. Almost everyone is in baggy, prison-issue gray sweats. But expectation is coursing through this group. That, and something you don't always get to feel in prison, pride.
I'm Heather. I feel super honored to be a part of this. Probably the biggest reason is, if I'm being honest, I have a lot of opinions. And
Never to get that.
and for the first time really in my life, I have an opportunity for my voice to really matter. So, thank you.
Learning from, and maybe even getting to know a little, the people we lock away, is the guiding motivation for what's planned to be an annual national prize. So I want to play those voices for a while now. This is about 8 minutes of some of the judges introducing themselves as we go around the table. And a few notes, you'll hear the term kite. That's what letters are called in prison. Also seg and LOPs, meaning segregation and loss of privileges. Both are forms of punishment inside. You'll also hear a lot of references to Miss Smith. That's Andrea Smith, sitting at the table with the judges here in the library. She's Shakopee's longtime and clearly beloved librarian.
I'm Chelsea. I joined because reading is my life. Like, the library is my happy place. And I remember our last, Freedom Reads Circle, and Miss Smith announced the literary prize thing, and I skipped over all the book circle answers and went to the last page to find out about this, because I was like, wait, what? I can judge something? And we get to meet in person? Wait. And so right away I was like, I'm in, put me down. And I had all these things going on, and I was like, Miss Smith, ignore all that, I got this. I've always been a big reader, but then I had kids and I stopped. And then I got incarcerated, and I've been incarcerated a little over 4 years now. And in the last 4 years, I've read over 550 books. So, reading is it's my escape. So getting these 4 different books, being able to laugh at some of them and being able to cry through some of them, I just love it. So, yeah. And being able to have something that one day I'll be able to tell my daughter, I was a part of the first Inside Literary Prize judging. Isn't that amazing? So, yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Allie. I didn't necessarily want to sign up, but I did. I didn't realize kind of how big of a deal it was at the time until, we started reading and talking and just doing our book circles and talking about each book with one another. It brought out a community in here. So when we can join together and bring different insights and opinions and voices to the table about one similar subject, it's really uniting. And it's been an amazing journey.
Nice. Thank you.
I'm Darnika. In prison and in real life, I'm very soft-spoken, very standoffish. So this gave me a chance to just do something, and plus Miss Smith is just one of my favorite staff, so I wanted to get back and participating with her. But I really do just love reading all kinds of books. I'm not really specific, I just read everything because it's my first time in prison, so it just takes me outside of here. But with these books, it was really good to read. It gave me something to think about, and I really appreciate that, because in here you really just have nothing to talk about. So this gave us something positive to talk about, something to look forward to. So I really appreciate being a part of it, and it gave me something to be able to tell my nieces that I was a part of. So.
My name is Coty. Honestly, the thing that drew me to this in the memo was that I get to be a judge if I get picked. How great. Yeah. I get to be the judge this time. So
I go by Frenchie. What attracted me to this is I got locked up. I've been locked up since I was 17, so I never got to vote. So I was like, yeah, this is my chance to be an adult and make a vote. And it's an opportunity that I took to read books that I don't normally read, because I can be a snob when it comes to books I read. So, yeah, I'm definitely a book snob.
Oh, I'm Tara. I'm just waking up. So I've been knowing Miss Smith a while, and so with COVID, we were doing the Freedom Reads. So I really like that, and anything that has to do with her, I try to get involved in it because she's super dope. But so with this, I knew it was going to be challenging because I was in, school And it was because I would find myself trying to hurry up, done doing my homework, because I was into one of the books, because I, try to prioritize my time, like, okay, at least 20 minutes when I wake up, 20 minutes after I'm home, 20 minutes before I go to bed, because I had so much homework.
Most people just call me Trisket. I really am honored to be part of this because Miss Smith is big on no SEG, no LOPs. And I went to SEG right before we got to start this, and I begged her in a kite. I said, I've been doing the Freedom Reads thing for as long as I've been in here, and I really feel that, yeah, I know I messed up, but I feel like I go really hard for Freedom Reads, and I belong to be in the book circle. And she said, okay, I think you're right. I really love books. I read about 185 books a year. I go to MSU, so I have not very much free time, like what Tara was saying, but I always make it a point to read my books, and I probably read my books more than I do my homework. But that's because when I read a book, I can get into it, and it's an adventure for me, an escape that's not drugs, and it's awesome. I read and I write. I just got one of my pieces published in the River Whale Review, so that was super awesome for me. And I just really love reading. I love words.
My name is Ryan. I don't really like talking in groups, and I'm not much of a joiner. But I do like to read. I have learned that I am more of a my genre kind of person. I had a really hard time getting through some of these. But, like, it was nice to learn stuff.
What's your genre?
I like love. I love love.
All right. Hi, I'm Bryn Montello, and I just want to make it clear you can put that name anywhere, because the number one thing that I want to get out of this is a job. Okay. I have always been very vocal about saying that to have a different face of incarceration for the rest of the world, for people to see that we are people that think about the books our children are reading, and we spend time on the phone to try and share our love of reading with them. Or some women are trying to broaden their abilities in reading in order for their children to have different sets of circumstances with education and things like that. That we're trying to fight for spots to be able to go to college. Some of us are 2 or 3 credits away from a degree. And the difference that things like this can make in how people see us and are willing to put us in places to continue to educate us, to give us jobs, because to have an ability to be part of culture when we have been purposefully separated from culture right now is like a big thing. Miss Smith has saved many of us from from wasting away, not getting too broad in our minds when we're in here. I've said it many times before. Throughout the 10 years, unfortunately, that I have been here, in and out and in and out.
Those are some of the voices of the judges for the Inside Literary Prize at Shakopee Women's Prison in Minnesota. And let's hear now from the much-lauded Andrea Smith, the prison's librarian for 19 years. Smith says books can be transformational behind bars, just like building relationships can be. At its best, this prize is doing both. But prize or not, someone on the inside needs to advocate for culture, for community. That's how Smith sees her role.
I'm often talking to the women, like, this is life too. Like, these years count too. We're doing stuff together. Like, you matter to me, you matter to other people. This counts. And so I think the advocacy piece is the reminder of just dignity and humanity. And once you feel, secure and safe in that, you can pursue other things. You can try new things. You can sign up for, there's a couple here that they don't sign up for anything, ever, but they feel safe enough to sign up for this. And I don't know what they're getting out of it, except that they showed up. So it says something to me that they're here, even if they don't say anything. Like, it may not be about me. It's because they're here with another person that they enjoy, who reads alongside them or maybe encourage them. So, like, it's that community aspect that matters, that I think library can be kind of the bringer of that, the ship of that, the whatever metaphor you want to use. But it's a space that we've designated that matters. And in Minnesota, I'm just really happy that all of our facilities have libraries and are staffed and do care. And it's not something we've had to argue about. It's just something the state believes in. And that's a relief, because then you can just do the work of being your own people. So much of the work, I mean, all my friends are public librarians, obviously, but like, you pay me to hang out with the people you don't want to hang out with. That's the job.
About a third of this library we're talking in is given over to a children's play area. It's a place for kids and moms to be together on visiting days. There's a colorful carpet, animal chairs, shelves of kids' books. It's good to see, but it also breaks one's heart a little. I asked Smith about the effect of being separated from kids and family.
Yeah, I think you see that considerably more in women's facilities, where kids are always in the room, even when they're not in the room. And so we talk about that a lot, and the library collection reflects that as well. And the other thing, what I observe a lot is that the women spend a lot of time like trying to understand the decisions that came before, or like trying to understand childhood, because they have kids, right? So like, want something different for their children. So you have to understand your childhood first and see what's being replicated and what you can or cannot change at a distance.
Can we talk about the rabbit hutch for like a quick minute?
We're in the thick of the judging session now. Up for discussion is Tess Gunty's nominated novel, The Rabbit Hutch. Ricky reads from a list of life lessons compiled by one of the characters.
And do not let your children become casualties of your own damage. And do not have children if you cannot ensure the above. And I wish I would have did 22 before I damaged my children. So it's like, there was a lot of them in here that touched home, and the stuff that I would do. And, you know, I've been in a pretty dark place lately, and it's made me laugh and kept my spirits up, and I even pick it up some days and read bits and pieces. So this is like definitely gonna be my choice.
The Rabbit Hutch unfolds over the course of a week inside a low-income housing complex. The story also touched home for Jamie.
The Rabbit Hutch I really liked because I like books that I can like relate to, kinda. So what Brandy said about how the teacher, well, when his wife was like, didn't you see her, or didn't you always meet her? And he was like, I never actually really seen her. That like really hit hard, I guess. But just all of it all together, because I too grew up in foster care and everything else. So I feel like I could like see this whole life, because I always grew up on the streets and in and out of foster care. So this book was teenage more, because I could see the teenage me in this book, reliving it. And then the what happens when you, some of us that don't have the right guidance, I guess.
Among the 4 nominated books, The Rabbit Hutch seems the easiest to connect to. The most difficult appears to be the book of poetry, Roger Reeves' Best Barbarian. Yet Reeves' poems generated some of the day's best discussions. And what becomes clear is just how much everyone has been talking about these books. Tara starts this off reading aloud Reeves' poem, Cocaine and Gold. You'll hear 2 excerpts from that reading.
Like an idiot anymore, because literally the Cocaine Gold one, I read that poem for like 8 times. I was trying to figure out, like, I really want to know what he's talking about. If that's possible.
Do you want to read?
Okay, I never wanted to be this far into the business of heaven, chasing my father, hunting his soul in the corn and confusion of his harvest. My father, who is hidden in the last sheaf of heaven, may be heaven itself. My father, the corn wolf, who we must kill but is already dead. We will learn nothing. Hear of sacrifice or the cocaine. This is where I got confused. I kind of understood that part. Freedom without freedom. to hold your dying father up, to a razor beneath a golden light and cut him finally in and out of the world.
I didn't understand the entire book either, so like, you're not alone, I promise you. Bryn had to break down, because I was in a discussion with Bryn, and like 95% of that she had to break down for me.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, where did you find that? Like, where did you get that? Because I didn't get any of the stuff that Bryn got.
What did you
I
get?
think that discussion was a fantastic discussion, and several people read things out loud. And I think the thing with this book, personally, we didn't get to talk about it enough. And I loved what you said just now when you said, I'm going to keep going with this. So personally, in Cocaine and Gold, I think you're exactly right. I think it's about his father's funeral. I think it's about when we eulogize someone, we use a razor and we cut out pieces of what their life was really about. You're not going to talk about his fact that his dad was probably, I'm guessing from some of the references, on cocaine binges throughout a lot of his life and not around.
Honestly, one of my favorite discussions was on this book, because of us breaking it down. And there's so many different perspectives. So what I got from the Cocaine and Gold is like, I correlated, like he's talking about his father who was a drug addict. When you said razor blade, I automatically thought that's probably what he like did to make lines or whatever. So he used something that was part of his father's addiction to finally sever him from his addiction because he died. Like, the different perspectives. I feel like one poem doesn't necessarily mean just one thing. Like the poem...
A strong contender for the prize appears to be Jamil John Kochai's collection, The Haunting of Haji Hotak and Other Stories. It's 12, at times fantastical stories about war and family set in modern-day Afghanistan and among the Afghan diaspora in the U.S. Here's Allie and Katie.
I love The Haunting of Haji Hotak. That is my favorite book. If I don't get into a book in the first like 10 pages, I'm out of it. But it's a bunch of short stories. Like, it made it fun. And even though some of the short stories were like, oh my gosh, this is horrific. Like, what is it called? The one, Return to Sender. Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Like, that one was gruesome, but it's like, wow, stuff like this actually does happen in real life. It rips off the, like what you were saying, the face of the stereotype.
I totally agree with what Allie said, because yeah, this book, within like the first couple of things, like I was just hooked. I was like, this is some twisted stuff. Like, I don't know what's about to happen next, but I had to keep reading just to find out how much crazier things were about to get. But I definitely loved when he like didn't have a lighter and he like just ate the kush, and I was like, bro, I've been there. Like, I've been there. Like, that shit is not good, but I've been there. So like immediately I was just like, yep, I understood.
Two of the judges sitting around these tables are in well-pressed military-type uniforms. Brandy and Jackie are part of an early release program called CIP. It's like boot camp. Here's Brandy on why she's voting for Haji Hotak.
So, again, I'm Brandy, and for me it's this one for sure, the Hotak one. Because I'm in CIP, we're not allowed to read personal books until 8:30 at night, and we literally get a half hour. So I hope none of the staff hear this over there, but I would sneak read this book because it grabbed my attention that much. So I like in between classes, I would pick it up real quick, read a couple pages, put it away. I even got a little more sneakier with it, and I would put like a treatment book around it and pretend that I was reading the treatment book. So yeah, I'm telling on myself right now. It's okay. Push-ups for sure. And I liked it so much that, I know I'm weird, it made me want to eat grass once. I did try it. It's not bad. Because I was thinking about the soldier that got put in that hole or whatever. Like, he was eating grass with the goats and stuff. So I was like, And then it makes me also want to pick up the Quran. I read my Bible, my Christian Bible every night. So, but this made me want to look at the Quran for some reason. So, and I've cried in this book. I laughed in this book. So, if you can make me go through a roller coaster of emotions with a book, I think, yeah. So this is definitely going to be my pick. The other books.
The idea of the prize was never to generate a consensus pick, and that isn't what's happening in this room. Imani Perry's South to America, A Journey Below the Mason-Dixon to Understand the Soul of a Nation, won the 2022 National Book Award for Nonfiction, and it's the last of the 4 nominees you're going to hear discussed. It's a meditation on the South, race, and America writ large. It's also got Rochelle's vote.
South to America was my pick.
Yeah.
It was a book that made me look at my preconceptions about the South. And there were so many things I didn't know about the South. I didn't realize that there were so many people that fought against Jim Crow, against slavery, against all the awfulness that the South is known for. To make me change my mind on the South is a big thing. So it's definitely going to be my pick. I think it raised awareness of a lot of things that people should know and don't.
For Heather, The Haunting of Haji Hotak was a book she loved, but her vote is going to South to America.
Going back to your question originally, which what makes a book good and that what makes it for this award? And I really had to think about that. My final choice is this one. And the reason why, yes, it was hard to get through, but it said things in here I didn't know how to say. Yeah. And I'm a writer. When he talked about the George Floyd situation and at the end and when she talked about it, it just blew my mind. And she talked about, and I can't find it at the moment, but she talked about the media and how the media portrayed him. And I don't know anyone in here who hasn't experienced that, but you tell someone on the outside the media lies, they're like, oh yeah, and yet you're watching it and not considering that it's a lie. Maybe this wasn't the funnest book to read, but it was the most important.
Yes, it was.
Talking about the man who, I can't remember the part, he had a 5 consecutive life sentences for something he didn't do, right? And this is back in a time when even worse than they are now, were targeted. That particular group of people. And it's sad that it happened. It's so sad. But it kind of, in a way, it gave me hope because he does get out.
Yeah.
So, and myself, who doesn't have a release date, I was like, everyone who's telling me, like, look at all these people that don't get out. Okay, but look at the person who did against all odds. Yeah. And then he talked about when he was in segregation and how he handled that. And we each take something, like he took the little pieces of toilet paper and he laid them on him like a blanket. And I thought, oh my God, each one of us have had a moment like that. Yes, we all have blankets, but how many of us take that imaginary stuff, which we probably shouldn't say here, but like the things that we use differently than how they're intended in order to give us that piece of home and hope in the worst moments. And I connected so deeply on that. So this has to be read.
Perry's book teems with stories. In declaring her vote, Tara picks up on one of those.
To this book, because this is like such an uncomfortable subject to even talk about, especially in a place like this when people of my complexion, we live it. I actually had to get myself ready to read this book, but what I really like about our ancestors back then, one of my favorites was Benjamin Banneker, and I say that because this dude, listen, the way he uses his vocabulary, and I just like the way he so eloquently speaks. So I just wanted to read what he was talking to Jefferson, his response. He said, "I suppose it is a truth too well attested to you to need a proof here that we are a race of beings who have long labored under the abuse and censure of the world." And I love the way, the way he uses his words, that we have long been looked upon with an eye of contempt, and that we have long been considered rather a brutish than a human and scarcely capable of mental endowments. So, and I stopped there and I was like, wow, like I wouldn't use that type of terminology. And can you imagine like back then, like, and then he was like, now, sir, because me, if I'm gonna be, you know, going crazy, I'm just gonna say some stuff like, and you da 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 da. But the way he uses his tone, listen, he was like, now, sir, okay, that's respectful, right? I just love the way he said that because it gives me that sense of, I like how you're telling him in such a way that we are the same kind of people. And that's just so powerful to me. So I hold on to that. Like, if you want to be racist, be racist. That's fine. Because I can't change how you feel about that. But it just makes me feel so powerful that he was able to convey this to this man. This is my pick for sure. Not because she's black. This woman is she's brilliant. Okay. And
After about 2 hours of discussion, final ballots are cast. And after that, the judges have some questions for Stephen from Freedom Reads. You'll recall he introduced the day. You just got out 16 months ago, Brandy says to Stephen. Now you're flying around the country, meeting new people every day. That's got to feel great.
The great feeling is that I know there's a variety of sentences in this room.
Yeah.
I went to a teen drinking party when I was 17 years old that got out of hand. And I was sentenced to life plus 45 years plus 9 years. So I didn't know when I was going to die, but I knew exactly where I was going to die. And I sit here right now on serving 2 paroles, one in Rhode Island and one in Connecticut on them sentences. I am here on a very, very detailed parole, work permit, travel permit to be here today. I jumped through every single flaming hoop to do this work.
That's cool.
So, yeah, I'm grateful.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm grateful, but also I'm an example to anybody in this room that is serving a lengthy sentence that I never thought in a million years that I would have a chance to come home, let alone be inside of prisons again doing this work. This is the 25th prison that I've been in since I've been home. I've been in over 190 housing units, speaking to folks since I've been home. So for anybody who believes that tomorrow never comes or that the sentence is insurmountable, things change every day. So keep doing that work, keep showing up.
Talking to Stephen after, it's clear how galvanized he was by the day. These women, he says, they want to be judges, they want to vote, they want their voices heard. Books, this prize, they can be a vehicle for that.
Reading a book says something about your character. It's showing the world that like folks on the inside do more than just, gang bang, sell drugs, shanks and whatever stereotypes are around. It's not all orange is the new black or Oz or whatever stereotype is around prison. Like, these are the most well-read people in the world. And that's what I would want to be recognized for if somebody was going to talk about a prize and publicize that. Like, I read books in here and I try to get better. I try to be better and try to do better.
That's okay. Thank you, Brittany. Okay, yeah. Hey.
Hi, my name is Allie, A-L-I.
A-L-I? Okay.
Yeah.
It's the afternoon now in Shakopee. Russell Horton is signing books after a reading he did before a packed library. The Freedom Reads event was open to the whole prison. Horton is a formerly incarcerated, tenured academic and award-winning poet. Like Stephen, he spends a lot of time now returning to prisons. He's not nominated for this year's Inside Prize, but I asked him, what would it mean to a writer to win this thing?
I look at it as a huge honor, and I think a lot of them view that as a huge honor to be acknowledged by those inside the carceral state. Because A, it's already widely understood that it's a very reading, population. But more so than that, it just gives you a certain sort of credibility outside of that whole literary community. You know what I mean? It's almost like a people's award. Really it is. And, for me, I couldn't think of any honor, more prestigious than that. you're being recognized by, one of the most invisible populations within, the United States. But they're also going to bring it to you real, and they're going to...
Books are about bringing us closer to other people's experiences, their perspectives, their humanity. But along with all of the gratitude I heard from judges over the course of the day, grateful for this prize, grateful even for this podcast, there was a note of surprise. People on the inside don't expect the world on the outside to acknowledge their humanity. And that is everyone's loss. Here is Lee, reflecting on what the day of judging and this prize have meant to her.
I'm super happy to have this opportunity though. Like I know when it came out, we were like the first inside, I was like, they care about what we think? And I was like, what? I was like, this is the first one. And they actually care. Like they want to hear about what we think, the ones that they have, shut away. And so it mattered, it really mattered that people cared and that they wanted our input, wanted to see what we thought about the books that they chose, So that was really shocking, and I felt really honored. I'm really honored to be part of this.
That was Inside Literary Prize, Shakopee Women's Prison, and it's dedicated to all of the more than 200 judges across the country who made this year's prize happen. Now, the winner of the Inside Literary Prize is being announced just a few hours after this episode is released. To find out which book won, click the episode page link in your show notes or go to innovatingjustice.org/newthinking. And on that same episode page, you can see some really great photos from the day in Shakopee, and there's a full transcript. A number of thank yous I need to make for this episode. First and foremost, to the women at MCF Shakopee and to your librarian, Miss Smith, deepest thanks for your welcome and for your words. Then, Stephen Parkhurst and Gabby Colangelo of Freedom Reads, thank you for taking this podcast under your wing so generously during our days in Minnesota. Next up, our partners in this Inside Prize effort. Much gratitude to everyone at Freedom Reads, at the National Book Foundation, and to the unmoved mover in all of this, Lori Feathers. At the Center for Justice Innovation, many thanks to Julian Adler and Josh Stillman. And then to the entire communications team here, Dan Lavoie, Emma Dayton, Bill Harkins, Samia Amin-Mia, Michaela Carmichael, Katrina Ting-Morton, Daniel Lagozo, and Elijah Michael. And then some personal thanks to Vivian Watts, Emily Watkins, and Roger Picton. Today's episode was written, mixed, and produced by me. Samia Mia is our Director of Design. Emma Dayton is our VP of Outreach. And our theme music is by Michael Aaron at quivernyc.com. This has been New Thinking from the Center for Justice Innovation. I'm Matt Watkins. Thanks for listening.